Hi, so in this video we're going to look at quadratic functions when they are given in the so-called vertex form. So the vertex, if you recall, is the maximum or minimum of our parabola. Now, if it's given in the vertex form, it's going to be given in this form of the equation, where a is the usual coefficient that determines whether the parabola points upwards or downwards and how wide or narrow it is. And then h and k, these two numbers here, are the vertex coordinates. So this would be the x and the y coordinate called h and k. Notice in the formula there's a minus in the formula, so this works sort of opposite sign-wise when you look at equations and exercises. Anyway, we are going to look at first two examples of given a equation, how is the graph going to turn out, and then afterwards we're going to look at some examples of when we're given a graph, how do we figure out the equation. So first off, for example 1 here, in the bracket it says x minus 3, and then outside it's plus 2, so h would be 3 and k up here would be 2. That means that the vertex is going to be at 3, 2, which in the coordinate system is right about there. If I look at the a value, I see that it's positive 1/2, so I know that the parabola is going to point upwards, and it's going to look like that. If I wanted to figure out which value it intersects the y-axis at, I would take the equation and would substitute 0 in and then calculate the y value. If I look at my second example down here, then I can see that it says plus 2, which is opposite of minus some h. So my x coordinate is going to be negative 2, and my y coordinate is going to be negative 3. So negative 2, negative 3 is going to be right there. That's going to be my vertex. And this time I have negative 1/10. So the parabola is going to point downwards, and it's going to look something like this. Notice here that my first a value was 1/2, and 1/10 is a smaller number, so the number is closer to 0, and that means that the parabola is going to be wider than this one. Right. Other examples could be if I'm given a graph with a vertex and I want to figure out the equation of the function. So in this case, I know the vertex is negative 4, 2. So because I have a minus and also a minus in the formula, it's going to be a plus inside the bracket. So it's going to be plus 4 in the bracket and plus 2 at the very end. So it's going to look like this. And also notice that I don't know a yet. The vertex only gives me this and this value, these two numbers here. Nothing about the a value. But then I can use that I have another point, and this point is going to be negative 2, 0. So I can take, instead of f of x, I can write 0 as my y coordinate, and instead of my x value, I can take the negative 2 and substitute in for x. Now I can calculate this, and this is going to be negative 2 plus 4, that is 2, and 2 squared is 4. Then I can subtract 2, divide by 4, that gives me negative 1/2. Now I know a is negative 1/2, I go up to my original equation here and I substitute a for my now known value, and then I have the equation I needed. If the exercise explicitly asked me to find it in the normal form, the ax squared plus bx plus c, then I would expand this bracket so I get all the terms. That's not necessary here, but if it was, I would do it like that. Final example could look something like this. Now notice the vertex is on the x-axis. So this time the vertex coordinates is 2, 0. So my k value is going to be 0. And that is something that looks like this. Notice again, I don't have my a value, and I don't have any plus or minus anything at the end here. And that's true in general, actually, that if I have the vertex on the x-axis, it's always going to be in this form. Oops. Down here. So it's always going to be in this form where I have x minus my h, and I don't have any plus k because that's the 0 down here, right? And it touches the x-axis at this h. The symmetry axis is x equal to h, and the vertex is h, 0 because my k is 0 when it's on the x-axis. So this is true in general. It's always going to be in this form if it touches the x-axis. Now in this case, I still need a, so I want to use my second information given, which is this point is going to be 0, 8. So I use that. Instead of f of x, I can write 8, because that's my y value, and instead of my x, I can write 0. And 0 minus 2 is negative 2. That squared is 4. I divide by 4, I get 2 is equal to a. Now I know my a value, I can substitute it in for my original equation up here, and I get my final answer is the equation I needed. Again, if I wanted in the general form, I would expand this bracket, and then I would get all the terms I needed. That's it for now. Have fun.